So I'm going to be doing this video off the cuff, covering some of the stuff that we've been seeing from TGS 2018. I haven't covered the Gamescom 2018 or the PAX West 2018 stuff, but that will be covered in a separate discussion video, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's get into some of the stuff that we've just seen yesterday. So I think the most jarring of news for Devil May Cry 5 is the Dante theme that was eventually taken off of YouTube, and also I think Spotify it was taken down off of. I'm not sure. If somebody can clarify that down in the comments below, that would be nice. Thank you very much. And yeah, it was just something that universally people agreed was just not a good theme. Overall, people thought that the song was shit, and that mostly it had to do with the fact that the vocalist was pretty much covering up the music, and the music was just so faint. In the trailer, it's actually the other way around. You could actually hear the music, and it's not that bad per se, but when you get into the reason as to why Capcom eventually pulled down the video, as well as started pretty much covering their tracks with that particular song, is because the band was actually in some drama, involved in some drama related to, I think, the lead singer, who supposedly, or I think was actually caught with a minor doing or in the middle of like sexual explicit acts. I don't know the full story. I will leave a link if I could find one to clarify that whole thing. I was not keeping up with this particular part of the Devil May Cry 5 news because it didn't really interest me all that much, and mostly I just felt like the theme was shit and that they should have just remixed a different track. But if you are interested, I will leave something that's a lot more informative, because I just don't personally want to cover this particular part of the news. I just wanted to throw that out there, that if you're wondering why it's no longer on YouTube, at least directly from Capcom's official YouTube channel or one of their sub-channels that they use for specific franchises, well, now you know. So there will be links for all of that information that you need to follow up on. And since we were just talking about the Dante theme, I think it should only make sense that we move on to the Dante trailer. And all I could really say is that the Dante trailer was just very good. I was very impressed with the trailer. It's pretty much everything I wanted to see out of Dante. Some gameplay, some story bits, some characters I was hoping to actually see prior to them actually being leaked, because there was a bit of a leak that was pretty major spoiler territory over there. Well, it's all of that stuff that was pretty much leaked has been officially revealed, and then some, and I'm pretty happy to see that the trailer itself was very good. So just a few things that I noticed so far in the trailer itself is that the Devil May Cry shop is very reminiscent to what it looked like in Devil May Cry 4, which is not a bad thing, since that's the most detailed shop design that they've had thus far prior to Devil May Cry 5. And also something to note too is that Sparta actually got a redesign, which is very interesting, and I will talk about that in just a moment. So Sparta now is actually more of a living weapon. There's like actual like meat on the actual sword. It looks absolutely ridiculous. And I think the most interesting part too is that they altered the hilt a little bit too on the design as well, and they made it look more like Alistair, because they gave it some like dragon or bat wings. It's kind of hard to tell with some of the images that they have going there. Also, something else to note too is that the sword itself has like bone coming out of the like muscle, or like the meat portion of the sword. It looks weird, but I don't mind the design all that much. I'm just kind of curious how some of the forms are gonna look like. I've seen the scythe form, but I kind of want to see what it's gonna look like in the spear or like stinger form. Once you when you do like a stinger, it it juts out forward and then like kind of folds in half in the first game. But in Devil May Cry 5, it doesn't seem like it's going to be able to like fold in half like it does in Devil May Cry 1. Maybe it will, I don't know, but it's a very different and drastic design compared to its previous design, and I don't particularly mind that all too much. I just hope that for the most part, because we are going to be able to use it as Dante, that it's going to be a very good weapon to use as opposed to some of the other weapons that we get. Not to say that I'm not interested to use all of the weapons for Dante, But I'm really hoping that the sword itself for Sparta is going to be very overpowered. Not too overpowered, because I don't want the game to be like too easy when playing as Dante, but definitely like powerful compared to like some of his other weapons, or maybe just more powerful than not Sparta, but Rebellion in combat. So we'll see. And since we're on the subject of weapons, I think I should start talking about the other two weapons. One of which we've already seen in a previous trailer, now officially confirmed to be the weapon known as Cavaliere. I do have some theories on that, and I will talk about that. I know I previously mistaken that weapon for a new form of Pandora, which to some extent I am glad that I was wrong on that. While I don't mind legacy weapons, I think that a new weapon is far more exciting because there's a lot more to look forward to. And the other weapon that we are traditionally familiar with as gauntlets and greaves is now known as Balrog, and it has a fire motif, which is very reminiscent to Ifrit, but there's something a little more interesting about it. So the interesting thing with Balrog is that unlike Sparta or unlike Cavaliere, where there might be two or more forms to work with on this weapon seems like it's going to have two or more fighting styles to work with, which is going to be very interesting for a weapon like this, because we're used to seeing the same amount of moves, maybe with some slight alterations to button inputs or just new moves entirely that replace old ones. And that's not necessarily a problem, but it would be very interesting to see what types of moves we would get on top of a new fighting style that we're not used to seeing with this type of weapon, which we've traditionally seen in most Devil May Cry games with the exception of Devil May Cry 2. Now, as far as form change is concerned for the weapon, it seems like the only thing you actually see is just two shoulder pads come up, and that's really the only difference. Outside of that, you'll see Dante go into like a fighting style that's very reminiscent to a boxer, or I'm not really sure what type of fighting style this is, but you might be familiar with it if you play Tekken with Eddie Gordo, with the whole like dancing type of fighting style, because again, I'm not familiar with the fighting style, but maybe similar to something like that. So it would be very interesting to see what else you could do with this weapon, because it's very different compared to some of the other gauntlet and greave weapons that we've had in previous Devil May Cry games. Now, I actually want to get into the theory for Cavaliere, because I'm sure you all have seen the weapon in action at this point already, and you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, it's essentially a motorcycle that can turn into dual wielding chainsaws, as I mentioned earlier. So it's not necessarily something that I really have to go over. But I do want to point out the fact that if you look at the design for it, and as well as in combat, you can see like purple lightning sparks kind of come out of the chainsaw portions of the weapon when you're in that form. And then look at this boss that Dante is supposed to be fighting in this game. It might be that you're going to fight Cavaliere as a boss, as opposed to just getting the soul that is unrelated to the boss that you're fighting, like in Devil May Cry 4. I know a lot of people have been speculating that this is going to be Alistair. I don't think that's the case, especially when you look at what the boss is wielding as a sword. They're very similar spikes to what the motorcycle form of Cavaliere is supposed to be, as well as the armor plating on the motorcycle form itself. It's very reminiscent to what this particular boss is wearing, so potentially this boss could be Cavaliere itself. Now, I don't know if they would actually want to throw in Alistair as a boss, or some of the other bosses that we've never actually fought but gotten weapons for in Devil May Cry 5. I would not be against it, but I do think that for Alistair and Ifrit, it would be a much better idea to save those two for a Devil May Cry 1 remake, but that's just my opinion. But to move on from that particular point in the video and talk about some other things, there was some footage of Dante's Devil Trigger form. As far as I'm aware, they did not show anything with the other weapons, so perhaps we could be seeing other Devil Trigger forms like in Devil May Cry 3 and Devil May Cry 1, or perhaps we might just stick with one particular Devil Trigger form, just like in Devil May Cry 2 and Devil May Cry 4. I'm actually really hoping that they do multiple Devil Trigger forms, but chances are that might not be the case, but who knows? We'll have to see. Also, something that was very important in this particular trailer is that they did 3 other character reveals. V has been officially revealed, Lady has been officially revealed, and Trish has been officially revealed. All three of which had initially been leaked in a very big spoiler territory leak, but now have been officially revealed, so I think now is a very good time to talk about them without having to worry about my channel getting a strike and potentially getting the video removed or anything like that. I am really liking Lady's design in this game. I think it's a very good design, and I think they also added in a bit of Dante in there, because if you look at the top of her coat where there's like a buckle, it's very reminiscent to the types of buckles that you saw on Dante's design in Devil May Cry 4. There's also Trish. I don't mind her design per se. She doesn't look bad. The character model that they have for her is the first thing that I thought of when I saw her was that, is that the chick from Resident Evil 7? Because she looks a lot like, I believe the character's name is Mia from Resident Evil 7. She looks very similar to that, at least facially. The only problem that I have with Trish is that the design is very similar to Devil May Cry 1. And pretty much in every Devil May Cry game that Trish has been in, she has had that design with some slight alteration. And to be honest, I'm getting quite tired of seeing Trish having the same design with really no differences or very minor differences that are, you know, just there. I would rather see some of the concepts that they might have had for like Devil May Cry 1 or maybe even Devil May Cry 4 and just give her a new design already at this point, because that design, while not a bad design, it kind of makes me feel the same way that I felt about Nero when it came to Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. I don't think that his default design is bad, but once I got the chance to use EX colors, or once I got the chance to use a legitimate alternate costume, I'm switching to it because I've just seen that costume for so many years that it's getting pretty stale in my opinion. And that's pretty much how I feel with Trish. Although, that being said, I'm very glad to see that this character has made a comeback, and I hope that maybe both with Lady and Trish we'll see like some expansion DLC where we can play as these characters in the future. And then last but not least, we have the mysterious V. Still not a whole lot known about him, but he carries a Bible around that has the letter V on it on both the cover pages or covers of the book that he's carrying. I'm just gonna call it a Bible. It's just the Bible of V. That's pretty much what it is, because it has a V on the front cover and also on the back cover. So that's the thing, and we really don't know a whole lot about him. Again, official face reveal for him, but not a whole lot known about him. He's got a whole lot of tattoos all the way up to his like neck and all covered up in arm tattoos and stuff like that. He's using a cane for a weapon, and for whatever reason he's using, or not using, but he's wearing sandals, which I don't know about anybody else, but I just found that to be very weird, because like all the other characters are wearing like combat boots and shit like that, or like high heels and stuff like that, and he's just going in there with sandals like it's just a day in the beach or some shit like that. It's very weird. Otherwise, I don't mind his design, but I do find the sandals a bit weird. Now that said, we don't know how he's going to play like, and we still don't know his official name, so it's going to be interesting to see what he's going to be like. Hopefully we'll see some more information on him in the coming days, if not right around PlayStation Experience, where we'll probably see the most information come out for Devil May Cry 5. And then we get into the end of this trailer where we get to see Nero's new Mega Buster Arm. Not to be confused with the Buster Arm, which is a completely different arm. No, the Mega Buster Arm is supposed to be a part of a Mega Man 11 / Devil May Cry 5 crossover where Nero is going to be able to use Mega Man's Buster Arm and just go around and shoot enemies like he's in Mega Man practically, and jump like he's Mega Man. They even have a trailer dedicated to that particular arm on its own, where Nero's just jumping like Mega Man and running through certain stages like it's a Mega Man title. It's pretty cool. You guys should check it out. I'll leave a link down in the description below. There are a few other arms to talk about as well. I will talk about those in just a moment. Those are actually specifically tied to pre-order bonuses, but first I want to talk about the other edition of Devil May Cry 5, just in case you were interested, as well as the pre-order bonus themes that you could get for Devil May Cry 5. So let's get into some of the editions. At the time of recording, there are only 2 editions. There's a standard edition and a deluxe edition. No word on a collector's edition yet, but that could change in the coming days or coming months, so do stay tuned for that. However, that said, we get, in the standard edition, you will get 5 EX colors. The one that I assume most people will not use or just mod away is the Dante skin for Dante. Yes, Dante colors again. For whatever reason, they keep trying to force that color set onto us. Honestly, I think it would have been better for them to just make Dante have a Nero EX color or a Virgil EX color. Either one of the two would have been much better than a Dante EX color, but I digress. For Nero, he's going to be getting a Credo EX color, which in my opinion looks really nice. I think the all-white look is really cool looking for Nero. For Nico, she has a very interesting EX color because I think it's supposed to be a callback to Devil May Cry 2's Dante Diesel costume. The one where Dante has the green jean jacket, blue jeans, and like these khaki colored boots. I think that's pretty cool that they're doing a bit of a callback, or seemingly doing a little bit of a callback, and it would actually kind of make sense considering the fact that Nico's supposed to be like this engineer mechanic type of character, so it really fits well with her character. For Lady, we get a Trish EX color. The only difference is that it's just making her jacket black. There's really no other difference. They didn't change the shirt underneath the jacket black. That's still white, but the jacket is black, so it's a very, very minor EX color. Honestly, I think they should have just changed her hair blonde too, to kind of go the extra mile with this EX color costume, but you know, it is what it is. And then there's Trish, who is getting a Gloria EX color. Her skin gets tanned and her hair turns white. So I think that's a very interesting change. Also, her clothes are white instead of black. So very interesting change and very interesting callback to Devil May Cry 4, since that was the most different look that she's ever had in a Devil May Cry game. But I digress. Those are going to be the base game pre-order DLC costumes that you can get. There is other pre-order bonuses, and I will discuss those in a little bit more detail because there's a bit of, let's just say, confusion surrounding them, because depending on the region that you're in, there might be more stuff or less stuff. Again, depends on the region that you're in. But before we get into that mess, let's talk about the Deluxe Edition. Now, depending on the platform you get it on, you might get something a little bit different. So on the PS4 version, you will be getting 100,000 red orbs, the 5 EX colors as mentioned in the standard edition, 4 Devil Breakers, Gerbera GP01, which is pretty much a reskin of Gerbera, Pasta Breaker, which is noted to be useless but good for eating pasta, Sweet Surrender, which has some sexual connotations. Basically, it's the vibrator that Nero uses on Kyrie, the Mega Buster, which is Mega Man's Buster Arm, and also, following that, we get 4 different tracks, or rather 4 different track packs, where you get 3 soundtracks from Devil May Cry 1, 3 soundtracks from Devil May Cry 2, 3 soundtracks from Devil May Cry 3, and 3 soundtracks from Devil May Cry 4, which you can swap out in-game for different battle themes. So if you want to use Devil May Cry 3 battle music, or Devil May Cry 2 battle music, or 4 or 1, you can use that if you don't particularly like some of the battle music. So if you don't like Devil Trigger, or if you don't like the other one, the other Dante battle theme, the one that they might not be using anymore, you can swap it out for a track that's of your liking. Also, you will get alternate style rank announcers and alternate style title cards. And on top of that, you will get live action cutscenes, which is basically them showing you behind the scenes footage of what they were doing for mocap, and a skin for Cavaliere, just known as Cavaliere R. You basically get a red version of Cavaliere. So for the PS4 version, you will get the dynamic PS4 theme. On the Xbox version, you will not get a theme, but you will get early access to the Buster Arm. And on Steam, you will get a Devil May Cry 5 wallpaper that has V, Dante, and Nero on it. So those are just some of the things that you can look forward to depending on the version, or rather depending on the platform you get Devil May Cry 5's Deluxe Edition on. Now I'm not going to go over every Japanese retailer pre-order bonus, but the few notable ones are going to be the ones that I think will pique your interest. The first one is the original replacement jacket. There's no picture for it, there's no description for it. The only thing we know is that it's supposed to be an original replacement jacket, and I'm assuming this is supposed to mean a classic costume. More than likely it's for Nero, but there's a possible chance it's for Dante. There's no picture for it and there's no description for it, so we don't know as of yet, but it is something that will be there if you pre-order from Capcom's Japanese web store. Also, something to keep in mind is that if you were to pre-order off of Amazon, there is a skin for one of the Devil Breakers that turns it into a pair of bananas that is pretty much a drill. A pair of drill bananas, if you will. It's very weird, it's very strange. I like it because it's silly, and I hope we get some more silly stuff like that, and I hope that's not Japanese exclusive either, because I hate it when there's DLC that's Japanese exclusive. But I digress. Also, something else to note is that another retailer has a steelbook edition for the game, and I believe there's another one that comes with like an acrylic art or some kind of artwork, like a poster or some kind of artwork that you will get if you pre-order the game in said Japanese retailer. So there are a few Japanese pre-order bonuses. There's like a total of like 8, I think, but those are the ones that I felt as though were notable or at least worth mentioning. I will leave pictures or like links to pictures that you guys could check out down in the description below. So if you're interested in checking those out, or actually I'll just even link the official Japanese website for Devil May Cry 5. That way you guys can check out the website and some of those pre-order bonuses for each version of the game and each platform that the game is coming out for. But that said, that's pretty much all I have to talk about. There's really nothing else that I have to talk about. So I'd really like to know what you all think. Are you guys going to be pre-ordering the Deluxe Edition, or are you guys going to be pre-ordering the Standard Edition? Are you interested in importing the game? Also, what were your thoughts on the Devil May Cry 5 Dante trailer? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you want to see more? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe, share the video, and maybe even give the video a like. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next one, and yeah, take care.